Well, it's Friday, and you all know what that means. As you know, in Japan, Stardom has started day one out of the three shows for this coming weekend. And this time they made their way to Osaka, which is nothing too significant about it, but however, some good matches are attended. But this one has a very special moments in some capacity, and I think many of you are going to like. And then, of course, we move on with AEW Rampage. We have some interesting matches taking place. We have, of course, a Shane Taylor Promotions taking on Top Flight and Action Andretti to show them who they really are. And then we're going to see who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up. And then, of course, we move on to tell you guys what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling in our news updates, such as what events the promotions are going out, what's booked, what matches are set, and developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video or the upcoming next episode as well. And of course, we do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. However, if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have been said. Let's begin, of course, full speed ahead right now. So let's begin with our very first review, and I believe it's Stardom in Osaka. Stardom. Recently, they were in just, of course, in Osaka. This is one of three shows they have for this coming weekend. Um, so let's begin with our very first match. Our first match, we have, of course, the Rookie versus Hanan. Now, of course, the way this match would go, Hanan was going to win regardless because Rian is she's barely new, she's barely fresh out of coming from the JoJo system. It was obvious that she was going to lose, but it was, of course, Hanan with a submission that was able to pick up the win against Rian, and of course, Hanan walked away with her to the back. I wouldn't be surprised if Hanan does scout her and try to convince her to join Stars. As you know, Rian is currently the only one, as we speak, of the rookies who is not affiliated with any of the units or factions in Stardom. So we'll see what happens. Our next match is a very interesting one. We have Aya Sakura versus Saki Kashima. Now, of course, Saki Kashima, we all know she's the resident God's Eye trickster. I mean, God's Eye puts up with her because they like to mess with her or probably use her when she's passed out and she picks up the win for everyone without her knowing what happened, even though she's a good source of entertainment for everybody. Even though Konami never liked her being in God's Eye, but she appreciates her. But you ask yourself this obvious question. Will Aya Sakura pick up her first win? Well, that didn't turn out the way she hoped because it was an underhook uh, face plant by Kashima that allowed her to pick up the win. However, this is what interesting happened. Aya Sakura thought in a way, because everybody who knows Kashima, she doesn't generally practice with God's Eye. Even God's Eye can confirm this towards you. But however, she said that according to Sakura, she said this that, I seen you play video games on your phone like Pachinko and Gacha, whatever it is that she's doing it. She thought she was going to be an easy target, but she has suspicious feeling that maybe, just maybe, she's been practicing on her own. And of course, Saki Kashima was wondering, how does she know this? And how do I know this information? Simple. It was all over their X account. So I thought it was pretty funny. But nonetheless, that's how it happened. Now, our next match, speaking of course of Aya Sakura, her teammates, Cosmic Angels, more specifically Sayaka Kurara and Yuna Mizumori, they team up to face against Momo Kogo and of course Saya Ida. So this was a good, interesting challenge. Now, as we always talk about Ida, she is a very strong wrestler, despite of her size. You would think so, but of course we all know Kurara does have her spears flawless. But however, it was Ida that picked up the win against Kurara, allowing for her and Momo to pick up the win. Now our next match, we have Oedo Tai consisting of Fukigen Death, Raka, Momo Watanabe, and Natsuko Tora taking on Lady C, along with God's Eye members Rana Yagami, Konami, and Shuri. So basically, that's how what the lineup is. However, as you know, we do know that Oedo Tai members are targeting the Goddesses tag belts from Konami and Shuri. However, Tekla is not there due to her being suspended after the previous weekend when she attacked one of the staffers. So we'll see how that will put them in a predicament. But however, it was Sudi who picked up the win on Fukigen Death, allowing for her and her teammates to pick up the win. Now our next match, we have of course a trios three-way match. Team number 1, Cosmic Angels core members Natsupoi, Sayuri Anu, and of course Tam Nakano versus EXV members Waka Tsukiyama, Zina, and Mina Shirakawa versus Star members Koguma, Azuki, and Mayu Utani, which is of course the core members of Stars. So you would ask yourself, this is gonna be a funny moment, a great moment. However, as Mina, with her usual shenanigans, she tried to do that like, Sayuri Noi was like not, feeling it basically, and then of course Mina gets attacked for it. So there were some really good moments in this one, but however, it was Waka who stood up against her former mentor and sort of like a mother figure for her, Tam Nakano, and of course Tam was able to pick up the win against Waka when she applied the Tiger Suplex. But here's the interesting part, and I think many fans have been kind of thinking this would happen. It seems that Tam has a nice idea, and I think many of you know what I'm talking about. What if Sayuri Noi, Natsupoi, and Tam Nakano, they challenge for the artist belt? That will be something. And not to mention, don't forget, to this day, the OG Cosmic Angels, more specifically Tam, Mina, and Unagi, they are in fact, of course, still has the longest and most defense records as artist champions. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do obtain those belts and they take it a little more further than they normally would. But we'll see what happens, and I'm sure that's something to think about. But don't forget, this coming Monday, Sayuri Noi does have a date with Destiny with Mika Iwata to obtain back the white belt and hopefully the Seedling World Championship. So we'll see what happens. Now our next match, this is a very interesting singles match. We have Miyu Amasaki and Starlight Kid. Now don't forget guys, Miyu Amasaki recently, not too long ago, she along with Azumi, Lady C, and Hina were expelled from Queen's Quest after losing to Oedo Tai in a match against them in elimination. However, we know that Starlight Kid who decided to start her own faction with Suzuki and Mei Sita, they decided to choose Azumi and Amasaki for various reasons because they're about the same generation as them. So, but of course, Starlight Kid is very curious about her, and I have to say this was a good match in my opinion because Amasaki, many people have often say she is very incredible. Many people said she would have already obtained the future belt, but she has a promising future. But it was, of course, Starlight Kid who, in fact, was able to pick up the win when she applied the Black Tiger Leg Killer. And then, of course, the post match, Starlight Kid gave her thoughts about her, and of course, asking her about, if she's still clinging on about her past, because she was generally really, in a way, Misaki really wants to hold on to Queen's Quest, but she has to move forward, knowing that there's nothing they can do to reverse what just happened. So she's generally accepted the invitation. So she's going to accept Starlight Kid's new faction that she's forming along with Zuzu and Mei. So we'll see what happens until then. Now our main event, we have Mei Sita and Azumi taking on Saya Kamitani and Maika. Now what's interesting, as you know, Azumi and Kamitani Azumi was a member of Queen's Quest, so this is the first time they have to face off each other in some capacity. But I thought this was a very emotional match and all this and that. So you would think so. But of course, it was Kamitani that was able to pick up the win on Mei Sita when she countered her rolling star, and just like that, it was over. However, in the post-match, Kamitani had a little talk with Mei Sita because, of course, Mei Sita would stop at nothing to reclaim the high-speed belt, but that was obvious. But however, Azumi, as you know, she started to open up, knowing that after all the hurt that she's win through losing to Odo Tai, being expelled from Queen's Quest, she was grateful that Starlight Kid and the rest of the others were there to support both Amasaki and Azumi. So she generally accepted their invitation. But she did tell Kamitani to take good care of Queen's Quest. So basically, maybe there is a possibility we could see Queen's Quest have new members, but we just don't know when will that happen. So we'll see. But of course, Maika, as you know, who has been rivals with Kamitani, asked her for a favor. She told her can she be her second for both her matches against Inaba, and of course possibly with Natsuko Tora. So we'll see what that leads us from there. But that's how it ends. So I think we're pretty much done with Stardom. Let's move on with AEW Rampage. Okay, AEW Rampage. As you all know, this past week, or should I say this past Wednesday, my bad, we in fact come off with the finals of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. We already awarded the winners of both the men's and the women's. But however, that's for another time and another conversation. Now, let's begin with our very first match. We have the Kings of the Black Throne, most specifically Malachi Black and Brody King, taking on those a-holes, the premier athletes. Of course, Tony Nese and Ari Daivari. And of course, that's Stooge, Smart Mark Sterling there, and so is Josh Woods. But however, nothing is phasing both Malachi or Brody. As you know, a couple weeks ago, we did see Christian Cage attack Buddy Murphy or Matthews in order to prevent them from trying to get the trios belts. That was something obvious that was happening. But I wouldn't be surprised that Buddy Matthews will come back and they will get the revenge on Christian and his cohorts. But we'll see what happens. But however, as always in this match, Josh Woods stuck his nose where he doesn't belong. But luckily, Brody King took him out. And then, of course, there was another moment where, of course, a distraction came in play. Daivari used Sterling's clipboard and whacked Malachi Black, and then Tony Nese applied a 450 splash. That would have been enough to put him down, but he stayed, and Sterling cried like a little bitch about it. But, however, he had this one coming because he got smashed alongside Ari Daivari by Brody King. And of course, Smark is out running his mouth saying that he's going to sue him. Good luck. But it was Malachi Black with the DN on East, and just like that is over. But as Malachi Black says, nothing phases them. So basically, we'll see what happens with them. Now, before our next match, we did see the members of the somewhat conglomerates, more specifically Kyle O'Reilly, uh, Mark Briscoe, and Orange Cassidy join Daddy Magic and, of course, Tony Schiavone in the commentary booth, because Kyle O'Reilly was, Roderick Strong was in the ring to take on a guy named Ben Bishop, but you can guess that this match was over until he took him out with a jumping knee strike, and just like that, it was over. But of course, later they had a little stare down between the conglomerates and the United Kingdom. No, the Undisputed Kingdom, my bad. But yes, so that's what took place. Now, our next match we have, of course, is a four-way match. We have Rey Fenix versus Commander versus Angelico versus AR Fox. You know this is going to be one of those matches where there's going to be a lot of high-flying spots that you cannot ignore. But in the end, it was, of course, Rey Fenix that put away AR Fox with a submission. So it looks like Rey Fenix is now developing a new set of skills, because we have seen over time high flyers can develop a new set of skills regardless if they can still do what they do. But nonetheless, it was Rey Fenix the one. Now, we saw this past Wednesday what happened to Samoa Joe. He went through a wall, through a forklift. He was unconscious. And of course, Jericho said that this is what happens when you don't learn anything from the learning tree. So good things happen and bad things happen. But one way or the other, Joe, Hook, and Shibata will come back to get their retribution and revenge. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, our next match, we have Thunder Rosa versus Rachel Ellering. It's great to see Rachel. An okay match, of course, but of course, Thunder Rosa is still unhinged towards Deonna Purrazzo. Even though Deonna Purrazzo thought this whole thing was over, but it would never be over with Thunder Rosa no matter what. But Thunder Rosa applied a somewhat of a modified Cobra Clutch, allowing her to pick up the win. But during the post-match, where Rosa kind of gives respect to Rachel, and she was attacked by Deonna Purrazzo. However, Thunder Rosa felt bad for Rachel for getting involved in her mess, but she told her not to get involved, and Rachel is willing to respect Rosa's decision. Now, our next match, this was a match that we've been waiting for quite some time. As you know, the Shane Taylor Promotions have been going after Top Flight and Action Andretti for quite a while, because they believe they are the ones at the top of the game, because guys like Top Flight and Action Andretti need to stay down. I mean, it was a pretty good match, but however, this match ended with a fist to the face by Shane Taylor, ended it with Action Andretti losing the match. But I wouldn't be surprised if Shane Taylor Promotions make a play for the Trios belts, because if those who may or may not have heard, the belts are vacant. So we'll see what happens until then. So as of right now, we'll end things with AEW Rampage and move on with our last and final review, and that would be NXT Level Up. Okay, so who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? Let's find out. Our first match, we have Malik Blade versus Cutler James. Now, as you all know, Malik Blade and Edris Enofe have been having some bad luck. And of course, they had that same feeling whenever they're not in the ring. They put bad luck on Brinley Reese. Now, Brinley Reese is the type of person who, as you know, she doesn't believe in bad luck. But however, could that bad luck affect Malik Blade? Well, I have to say, he did a fantastic job. I mean, I was thinking, okay, he has to pick up the win, because Cutler James is barely new into the NXT Level Up brand right now. But it was Malik Blade that picked up a amazing singles victory when he applied the frog splash, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, before our main event we get there, One of the challengers had their interview with Sarah, Hank and Tank, or as we call them, Hank and Tank Connection, or however you want to call them. They are saying they have a game plan against their opponents, Dion Lennox and Uriah Faber. So let's see what that game plan is, because as you know, they are building up momentum as we speak as a tag team, because we have seen what an amazing match they had against New Catch Republic, and I think that's the kind of attitude they need. They need to elevate themselves, but we'll get to that. Now, our next match, we have Tatum Paxley taking on Layla Diggs. Now, of course, Tatum Paxley, we know recently she's been we saw her appearing TNA, and then of course her obsession towards Izzy Dame. We don't know what's the deal with that, but however, that did not try to unphase her against the task in hands against Layla Diggs, but it was of course the Psycho Trap that sealed the deal. Now, our next match is of course our main event. Hank Walker and Tank Ledger, or as we call them, Hank and Tank Connection, they take on Uriah Connors and, of course, Dion Lennox. Now, however, this was a very odd pairing makeshift team. Uriah Faber's a little different type of breed than Dion Lennox. But I have to say, Tank and Tank are building up great momentum. We've seen them, how much they have grown so much together as a team. But, however, there was a moment Connors was attempting to remove the safety of the turnbuckle, but Dion Lennox wasn't having, but it might have cost him the match when he got comboed by both Hank and Tank and allowing for them to pick up the win. So we will see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised future down the road we will see Hank and Tank to get a shot of the NXT tag team titles. So that's pretty much it what we have for this. I think we are done officially with our reviews. Let's move on with our last and final thing on this episode, and that would be news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin with, of course, upcoming events from the various promotions. Now, majority of this, let's just say 95% is all GCW. The only one that is not standing out on its own is House of Glory. As you know, they have their high intensity event later on this month, on the 28th of July. It was just foretold the Cruiserweight title will be defended. Gringo Loco defends his belt, and I just mentioned this on the last episode, that Kevin Knight will be his opponent, so that's going to be great. Now let's get moving with the GCW updates. Now, due to some circumstances for their upcoming event on July 20th in the Indianapolis show for Don't Tell Me What to Do, it was foretold that Jordan Oliver got injured, and of course, our current tag champions, Violence is Forever, will not be competing. So there were certain changes that they made in this particular event. So these are the changes. Myron Reed will be in action to take on Jack Cartwheel. Then we have tag team action. Muda Fuda will be taking on Blake Christian and Shane Mercer. And then, of course, the Rejects will take on Cole Roderick and one called Matters. Now, interesting announcement coming for the 28th of July for their Bloodsport event in Brooklyn. Mike Bailey will take on the Death Samurai Akira. And then, of course, we have the Asbury show on August 4th. Can I Trust You? Los Macizos will be in action to take on Legion of Rot. Now, for the GCW Japan shows that go from August 12th to 14th, two local wrestlers who have made appearances in GCW have been announced to be a part of the Japanese shows. Rina Yamashita and, of course, Masashi Takeda. And then, of course, we have date night 1 of the homecoming event in Atlantic City on August 24th. Maki Ito takes on Kerry Morton. And then, of course, on night 2, also for the homecoming in at Atlantic City, we have Zilla Fatu taking on Mike Bailey. So that's pretty much it for the updates. Now let's talk for certain developments that are happening in the World Pro Wrestling. Now, as you know, we've recently been talking about Stephanie Vaquer Wrestling Observer reports that, from sources close to this whole thing, that Stephanie Vaquer has never considered seriously joining AEW. So basically, she already had her idea of going to WWE. It turns out the reason is this because she has watched WWE when she was a kid back in her home country of Chile, and basically this predates AEW. So basically, that's already been a done deal. But however, in relates to Stephanie Vaquer on this, it also been foretold that this coming weekend she will be making her appearance for WWE shows in Mexico City and Monterrey. So we'll see where that goes from here on out. And of course, their shows from they'll be using the UFC Performance Institution for that. Now, the reason WWE are being going down to Mexico, they want to have a strong presence. Now, of course, they don't have any partners from Mexico. There's been talk about AAA recently about that, but nothing has been confirmed just yet. It's only been talk so far. Now, Fightful Select, as you know, Zayda Steel, who's been touring recently since May with Mighty Gold, just revealed that she is not, of course, in contract with Mighty Gold, but she does state it that she does whatever she wants, whenever she wants. So basically, let's say WWE can contract her, but we'll see. I highly doubt that. The National Wrestling Alliance just announced another signees were made. The Immortals, Odison and Kratos are now officially part of the NWA roster. Guilia, of course, confirmed that she has very little time left with Mighty Gold until she makes her move to WWE. As we speak, she'll have the Summer Destiny show where she'll face Suri for the Mighty Gold World title. So that's something we definitely don't want to miss out. So we'll see what happens until then. What else? Oh yeah. Wrestling Observer reports that Bandido recently had an exam to get cleared, but after his second surgery for his wrist. So basically, he'll have his exam by the end of this month, and hopefully we get to see him back. WWE has been, of course, this was reported by Wrestling Observer as well. WWE has been in discussions or talks about having secondary belts in the women's division. Like, for example, they want to have an Intercontinental Championship and a United States Championship for the women. So, I mean, we already saw with the North American women's title recently, but we'll see where that goes from there. PW Insider's now been said that Natalya has now been confirmed that she has been locked with a new deal with WWE. There's been talk about negotiating a new contract. Seems like it's going to be saying that she's going to be staying with the promotion from here on out. So that's pretty much it, what we know. So I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. So I think it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, as we speak, we have Mighty Gold's much recent event with Summer Destiny. We will be crowning brand new championships in this one. Of course, the Superfly title, the United National title, and of course the World title. So we'll see what happens. We continue with more with Stardom, of course, with their one of 3 shows that they're doing right now. And of course, Noah will have their upcoming event, Destiny. This one has very interesting matches as well. I did know Choco Pro and all that. So there's a lot of things coming up for this one. And of course, we have AEW Collision as well. But however, AEW Collision will be a priority. So everything else that I just mentioned, I'll just see how this one goes. And I want to get everything done beforehand. But we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to wing it starting from there on. So just enjoy the episode, guys. As of right now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day.